Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow, your home for all Golden Grizzlies basketball. My name is Giovanni Moceri. I am your host, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on all platforms to make sure you don't miss one bit of the Golden Grizzlies action, especially now that we're in the month of February. It's the home stretch of the Horizon League season, and Oakland's in pretty good position for a potential regular season championship and a high seed going into the Horizon League tournament. Hopefully they get to Corteva Coliseum in Indianapolis, so that whole ride can be covered right here on the GioMoShow, and your subscription and your follow would be greatly appreciated. Spotify for Creators is also telling me that I'm not telling you guys enough to follow, specifically on Spotify. They say I should have more followers, so I'll remind you guys once again, be sure to follow, especially on the podcast side of things. You can follow the GioMoShow on Instagram at the GIOMO Show, and you can follow me on Twitter at GIOMoSherryWXOU. We got 3 games to cover in this episode here. A Wednesday win on the road at Purdue Fort Wayne, who won 5 games in a row going into that game against the Golden Grizzlies. Oakland takes home the win. And at home against Northern Kentucky, a team who's been nipping at their heels ever since, that Oakland beat them on the road early in December. Their chance of revenge would not be victorious. Golden Grizzlies would win at home for the first time in a few weeks and get a second win in a row. And then they go on the road at Cleveland State, a team who has won 4 games in a row before their matchup against the Golden Grizzlies. We're recording this Tuesday night before the Cleveland State game, so we'll get the kind of wrap up to that towards the end of the episode. So to get my eyes and ears on the first 2 games of this week, this is how this episode is going to go. I talked to Griffin Beers from the Horizon Roundtable. He is their Oakland men's basketball beat writer. He had his eyes and ears at the home game against Northern Kentucky, as well as his eyes on the game at Purdue Fort Wayne. So we get his perspective, especially player to player, as we had some guys shine without Isaac Garrett in the fold. We'll see if he plays against Cleveland State as well. But we talked to Griffin Beers for those first 2 games, and then at the end, I'll be back with you guys to cover the Cleveland State game. I'll be able to watch that one live, unlike the previous 2 games. So we'll get you a full coverage here, and then we take a bit of a break when it comes to the Oakland schedule. So hopefully this episode has a little bit of room to breathe and enough time for you guys to catch up as we get to that next game coming up after that break. I believe it's against Youngstown State. It is Thursday the 12th at the Arena. So we got a bit of time for that, so this one can kind of stew and sizzle a little bit to be cooked to perfection. So, with enough intros aside, we'll get to my conversation with the beat writer for the Horizon Roundtable of Oakland basketball, Griffin Beers. Follow him on Twitter at Griffin_Beers2. Go to HorizonRoundtable.com. Donate. And we'll get to my conversation with the Beers man himself, Griffin Beers. And we're back with Griffin Beers. And luckily, today's going to be my eyes and ears, just because I was a little bit otherwise attended to for both the games going on this week at Purdue Fort Wayne last Wednesday, and then Sunday in the Arena at Northern Kentucky. So Griffin, kind of 2 similar games, especially when you look at the scores, but a lot more on the defensive side for Oakland throughout this week. What did you see kind of overall for these past 2 games?
Yeah, I think a couple of pretty good games defensively, and I think a lot of that was because of just kind of a new look that Oakland was throwing out there, kind of by necessity. You saw no Isaac Garrett in these last 2 games. He got hurt at the end of the Detroit Mercy game. We'll see if he's able to play tomorrow. I'm not sure, and if not, I think if he would miss tomorrow, I think he would definitely be back for Youngstown. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, the Oakland defensively really showed up at Fort Wayne. Very shorthanded, because it wasn't just Isaac out, but Brody Robinson was not full go at all, and so they kind of played more of a possession by possession type game, and I think you saw the defense have a lot more energy, just because they were so locked in what they were trying to do every single possession, and then I think the big thing that you saw more in the second game, but also in the first game a little bit. Warren Marshall can do a lot of things in that defense. They kind of shifted his position to the hoop man, which is where a big man would usually play, but without Isaac, they wanted to shift some things up, and he was really good. And Coach Campy, post game after the Northern Kentucky game, threw out a stat that Northern Kentucky and Purdue Fort Wayne, they took they took 83s, I think, combined in the two games, and they only made, I think it was 20 or 21 of them. And I think what he was trying to get at there is Warren is a guy, if you put him at the hoop, he's able to get to those corner threes that we've seen a lot of teams kind of exploit against the Oakland zone. But with kind of a quicker guy under there, he was able to kind of get to those corners and at least contest those threes a little bit harder. And then, yeah, I mean, the rest of the defense was pretty energetic for the whole 80 minutes, and you saw Oakland grind out a couple nice wins.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about Warren Marshall getting his role. I mean, first of all, to me, it's just awesome to see him as one of the three returning players, even though he didn't play last year, but him getting a chance to have some meaningful minutes, now more so in that defensive role. But obviously, so the 3-point defense with him underneath the hoop, I'm going to get a little bit into the zone a little bit, but his 3-point defense under the hoop is awesome. Obviously, it's been proven to be, but obviously you're going to be sacrificing some size inside. So is that something that, especially once Isaac comes back, Campy could kind of toggle between the two as needed?
Yes, and he said post game after Northern Kentucky that this is something that even when Isaac comes back, we're going to continue to see. That's how impressive he was in it, and I think he has, obviously he has a skill set to be able to get to the corners, and then for his weight class, I guess he is very talented at walling up and blocking shots, contesting shots, even at the rim. Um, but I think the other thing that maybe kind of gets lost in it is he watched the defense all last year too, right? So I think probably watching that, he really started to understand all five of the spots, even though if he didn't think he was going to be playing at the hoop or whatever, but he was able to watch that. And then now coming into this year, he, while not being able to play it as much, he's got almost 2 full years of experience of learning the defense, right? Which is you see guys get so much better at it in their second year, just because they understand what it's trying to do. So I think that is an interesting point that you brought up, that he was kind of a guy that sat out and watched practice all of last year, and so I think that's really helping right now, because he knows what the goals of what the defense is trying to do.
And another player I wanted to highlight, and especially just because he was a leading scorer in both games, or one of the leading scorers in both games, but Michael Hogue, over the past 2 games, 16.5 points and 11.5 rebounds. Pretty good, and that's pretty much just what Oakland needed, especially at one of the big guy positions with IG out. And honestly, these 2 games I'm putting under the umbrella of without Isaac Garrett, because I think that's a big enough deal. But Hogue kind of stepping up his game during that time. What did you see from him?
Yeah, and obviously Michael, he was great, right? I think that, and I hate to make this like a kind of like my own answering my own question here. I think any of the three bigs that Oakland has, Isaac Garrett, Brew Navalua, Michael Hogue, I think any one of them, if you took one big off of the team, those guys' numbers would skyrocket. I think all three of them are insanely talented. And I think any time that they could be the featured guy or even one of two featured guys, I think this is what you would see from any one of them. So yeah, he was great, but it's really not like he played that much better, right? He just got more opportunity because there was just more post shots to go around. So yeah, I mean he's been really good. I even tweeted on Saturday, um, like Michael Hogue has missed a ton of like a good amount of easy looks in this game. And then my second sentence was Michael Hogue has 16 points and 12 rebounds. Like he still was able to find a way to get that. But I think that shows like he might still have another level because he's capable of making all those shots, right? So I think the bigs are able to just take up whatever they need whatever is needed from them in that game.
And then on to the smaller of such players on our team, Brody Robinson, and the story of him being the leader in the NCAA of Division I in free throw attempts. That's starting to go around a little bit, starting to gain some steam as far as the story is concerned. And obviously, if, I'll think about it from, if he's not on our team, I'd be a bit of a hater if he wasn't on our team shooting all these free throws and stuff. But obviously having it, I'm a little bit biased to it. Is there I'll give you the floor on whether it is a quote unquote ethical way to play basketball. And another way to ask it is just how big of an advantage is it for Brody, especially in closing games, to be able to get to the free throw line this often?
Well, I think two things can be true. One, he has figured out a way to embellish a call or get into a defender and try to draw a foul. I think also what can be true is A, he's too fast for anyone to guard. And the only way to slow him down is to put two hands on him. And that's a foul most of the time, right? And then B, also, I think those numbers are inflated just a tad because he is the only one that has the ball at the end of a game when Oakland is ahead and getting fouled and teams are extending the game. If you look at the end of games and the games where he has these double-digit free throw attempt nights, he's getting 6 to 8 to 10 free throws in the last minute of the game because he's the only one that is getting open and getting the ball, and he's not throwing it to anybody else because Oakland doesn't have other great free throw shooters, and he's so good at getting open that he's going to get the ball and he is going to shoot every single free throw down the stretch. So I think it's a little inflated. I think he is also good at being able to draw fouls because of his feet, because of his speed. And then I think also, you'll get one or two, I would say, a game of where he is able to manipulate the defense a little bit and draw a foul. But I don't think it's all because he's, playing unethical basketball.
And that's an interesting point too, where it's just this amount of free throws would usually be a little bit better distributed throughout the team. I remember, a few years ago, it wouldn't just be. I mean, I guess back when we had Jalen Moore as our point guard, that would kind of be of a similar case too. But it's just a matter of opportunity. Those fouls are going to happen anyway when the clock's going down. But they just happen to go to Brody Robinson because he's the best option and he's a good best option.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, he is so good at getting open that usually, even if a team is trying to get their best free throw shooter a shot at the end of the game, maybe they get open, 4 of the 6 times that they need a free throw shooter, but he's open 6 of the 6 times, so he's getting the ball and he's shooting 8 free throws in the last minute, and all of a sudden you look up and oh my gosh, he took 15 free throws. Why is he getting all these calls? But a lot of the time, it's because he took so many free throws in the last minute.
And then one more note on Brody Robinson. He was, like you mentioned it before, he was not a full go in especially Purdue Fort Wayne, but also a little bit in Northern Kentucky. He was sick as a dog this week, but was still able to be out there and still produce. This dude's tough as nails, isn't he?
Yeah. And I think you saw him in that Fort Wayne game call for a sub a couple minutes into the game. Like would never ever do that. And he did struggle shooting the ball in both the games. But he still was able to provide exactly what Oakland needed. He got the right people the ball. Again, he got open late in both games to hit free throws. And he did hit a couple big 3-pointers, which is really what Oakland needs most of him in a game like that where he's not feeling 100%. If you can stand there and just be a threat from the 3-point line and then get people the ball in the right spot, you're definitely able to contribute. So,
yeah, and he takes them from deep anyway. So if it just happens to be a little bit less steps that he needs to take during the game, that helps too. So then we're gonna. I mean, in this episode, for those watching, we're gonna be talking about Cleveland State after the fact. Right after this, it'll just be me. But just Griffin, I want to get your perspective on it. Cleveland State secretly, quietly, they've won 4 in a row coming into this game against Oakland. What are you seeing? Are you seeing more of a repeat of the last time Oakland faced Cleveland State, more of the buzz-sawing variety, or is this one going to be kind of a trap game, take them seriously, get the win on the road.
Yeah, I have I've covered the league and this team long enough to not give my take on exactly how the game is going to go.
Hey, I thought I'd ask.
But I will say, Cleveland State, why are they winning these games? It's because they're making shots, and it's because they're making a lot of threes and they're making a lot of free throws. And what is something that we've seen teams be able to do against Oakland a lot is get a lot of threes up. So I think absolutely this could be a game where you look up and it's going down to the wire. And I think there's definitely a world where Oakland is too much for Cleveland State to guard, and Oakland's offense just controls the entire game, and they kind of control the game, and they win, fairly comfortably. But there's definitely also a world where this is a dogfight to the end. So.
And we'll see what kind of dogfight we get in the next few seconds. For those of you listening, stay tuned for that. But for this segment here, Griffin, thank you so much for coming back onto the show. We'll try and get you on one more time before the Horizon League tournament goes. And just for the people knowing, we're working on some plans to get to Indy for this year. But Griffin, great to see you again. We'll talk soon.
Good stuff. Love to hear it. Thank you.
Yeah, so I happened to get a little bit sick, before and after watching that game against Cleveland State. 91-78 was the final score. And Oakland played tough, 10-point lead at halftime. It really looked like it was going to be a game. And even when I was watching, it didn't necessarily have a distinct identity to it until the second half, but it looked like Oakland was going to walk away with it in a pretty similar fashion that they did the first time we played them in the arena, which was, a high 90s scoring day in the arena, part of when we were scoring about 100 in the arena at the beginning of the season. And then the second half happens, and the three-point shooting that Cleveland State has made their trademark for this season really took over. Now, they take huge volume of threes. They took 40 in this game, 20 in each half. And I'll take you in the first and second half side of things when it comes to the stats. For Cleveland State in the first half, after taking 23 pointers, they only made 5 of them. And that's pretty good three-point defense that Oakland has also been known for throughout this season. They've been one of the best teams at defending the three in this season. And then they just uncorked, not only beyond doubling their first half output from deep, 12 of 20 from deep for 60%. They would finish 17 of 40 from deep. And Oakland does not have the firepower to keep up a three-point shooting like that. Even, and we'll add that on, especially without Isaac Garrett on the offensive output. I mean, besides Brody Robinson, Brett White, really, Zaire will threat from three every now and then, but Oakland just does not have the firepower from deep to match that. So it was really, you could do everything else right in every other facet of the game, but if those are the threes you're giving up, man, you ain't winning that game. So it was kind of just written to be a Cleveland State game that day, and it was weird. It wasn't even in the Wolstein Center; it was in their volleyball arena, because ironically the heat went out in the arena, similar to when it happened. The heat went out in the Wolstein Center, similar to how it did in the arena. So just kind of funny twist to it. But yeah, 71 to... I'm trying to keep my head together here. 91-78 is your final score. And luckily, ironically, strangely, this was also a night that Wright State lost as well. So the distance between the two, luckily, has not increased, but it hasn't gotten any shorter either, as Wright State lost to Robert Morris. And we just seem to be on the same path, us and Wright State, where we just can't seem to win when they lose. We win when they win, we lose when they lose. So it's going to be kind of one of those things as we follow it throughout the rest of the regular season. Brody Robinson got to the free throw line as he does, 10 of 12. And, previously we just talked to Griffin Beers about that, whether it's ethical or not. And this was kind of a situation where it's just he happened to, one, get fouled a lot, and two, especially towards the end of the game, it's kind of just the way it typically goes. But also I will note, as I was listening to Neil Rule on the radio broadcast, I'm not necessarily there. I'm not necessarily have the closest eyes on it, just via camera angle and stuff. But according to Neil on the broadcast, there was a ton of physicality, a ton of contact on Oakland's side that wasn't called, especially early on in the game. So That was something to be noted as well. Oakland was not getting to the free throw line throughout the game like they normally do, so that was also kind of a deficiency in the offensive output too. But listen, overall, if you're only attempting 21 threes, and Oakland was 5 of 21, so like it wasn't even a good percentage too. It was like 24% from three. You match that with a total of 42.5% on 40 shots. I mean, like this is just Cleveland State's victory, and it was impressive. They've now won 5 in a row after starting 1-7 in conference play. It is impressive, and it's good to see is for a program who's traditionally been one of the better ones in the Horizon League, and also one of their first-year head coach, him and his entire staff look awesome in the suits and ties that they wear at every game. But and this is Campy's feeling on the game too. It's just kind of a congratulations to Cleveland State and a credit to them. But still, I mean, it would have been swell. It would have been sweet. It would have been awesome to be able to kind of jump Wright State in that. But I kind of zoom out and look at it. It's the games without Isaac Garrett, because now we got 8 days off. We're likely to get him back, as Griffin said earlier in the episode. But you go 2-1 in games without one of your best players and one of the best players in the league. Overall, that's not bad. Still in pursuit and still in range of a regular season championship, of a top seed in the Horizon League tournament. I think overall, I mean, we're in good shape given the circumstances. I mean, like, we'll even look at the bench points. I mean, Oakland played like 7 guys. You know, they're not super deep right now. They don't, that was even before Garrett went out. The bench isn't that deep, just in terms of bodies. Warren Marshall's luckily stepped up. He played 33 minutes in this game against Cleveland State, but you got bench points of 8 for Oakland and 34 for Cleveland State. So just like there's a depth thing going on with this team as well. So given those circumstances as well, I think we're in good shape. I'm not worried. But it is also funny to look at our losses are 2 losses to the top team in the league. And then depending on when you're looking at the standings during the league season, you also lost to 2 of the bottom teams in the league. Cleveland State's not that anymore. IU Indy, still is. But I mean, it's weird when the 4 losses have come for Oakland, and luckily that 4 losses is not a death sentence for a regular season championship, although it gets pretty close, because champions typically have about 15, 16, or 14, 15, 16 wins in conference play out of the 20 games played. So, I mean, we're getting close to that loss mark, but Campy also mentioned in the Grizz Vision that Wright State still has a lot of their difficult games left, as far as like going to Northern Kentucky is one of their games too. I think they have to go to Fort Wayne. Some of those games against the top teams too. They still have those upcoming on their schedule, so it doesn't necessarily get easier for Wright State. And hopefully, when they do take another loss, because I would be shocked if they have only 3 losses on their way to a championship. But when that loss comes, you got to hope that it's at the same time as an Oakland win, so that we can jump them. Because us and Wright State at 10 wins apiece, the 3rd place spot at Purdue Fort Wayne, and then 4th to Green Bay is 8 wins. So there's already a bit of a gap, and it's kind of a two-team race at this point between the Golden Grizzlies and the Raiders. So overall, I'm not worried. It did kind of suck watching it, and being sick at the same time. Boo-hoo. But the game didn't quite make me feel better. It wasn't the best medicine. But either way, appreciate you guys tuning into this kind of extended episode. Hopefully, this keeps you satiated for the 8 days off that Oakland has until they play at home against Youngstown State this Thursday. Team that we played them really early on the road, and it was a big win. It was part of that Isaac Garrett Player of the Week. So hopefully at his return, he gets a chance to kind of repeat that kind of success as Oakland kind of continues their way through. We'll see what happens, and hopefully a good crowd is there for the arena as well. So next time you guys will see me, hopefully I'll be in a little bit better spirits and better health, and with much better content coming your way. We appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the GioMoShow. Follow the Instagram at the GioMoShow. Follow me on Twitter at GioMoSherry, WXOU. Be sure to go and follow Griffin Beers as well at Griffin_Beers 2 on Twitter. He's got a ton cooking up here as far as Oakland updates and those otherwise around the Metro Detroit area. He's a great guy to know, a great guy to talk to, great guy to follow and to read his work. So be sure you guys all do that. Thank you so much for joining, and go Golden Grizzlies. We'll see you next time.